Do you ever feel like you don't have enough storage? Do you feel the need to maximize every spare inch of your space? Do you revel in taking on complex and tedious projects that make you question all of your life choices? Well, I have a solution for you. Welcome to the space under my back deck that is now totally waterproof and ready to become almost 200 square feet of storage. Hey everyone, welcome back to Reissued. If you're new here, my name is Andrew. This is gonna be one of those weird videos where I dive into a very specific project that most people are not gonna care about or gonna do, but if you're looking to add waterproofing under your back deck, welcome to the very weird and specific corner of the internet where I tell you how to do it. And if you're here for the vibes because you enjoy my channel, welcome back. You're the best. In addition to the waterproofing, we are gonna see some other big progress on the deck, putting on some decking boards, adding some posts. So if you're here for the back deck transformation, we're gonna see some transformation. I can't wait to show you what we've been up to. Let's do it. Before we get started today, if you enjoy my channel and you want to help us grow, be sure that you're subscribed, hype this video, hit the like button, leave a comment down below. All of those things really go a long way to helping my videos perform and helping my channel grow, which means that I can make more videos like this and create more content for you. Hopefully it's a win-win, so if you have a second, show this video some love. Okay, so let's talk plan. The idea here is that before we put on the decking boards, we're gonna install this plastic membrane thing that's gonna allow the water to drain down in toward the center of the deck. That will fall into a gutter, and then that gutter will carry the water out the side, keeping the whole area under the deck completely waterproof. That's the goal, at least. Now, there are a couple of prep steps here that we need to do before we get started. First of all, in the last video, we installed these cross braces on one side of the deck. That's because the joists were so long that they needed some stability in the center. However, with our membrane system, we won't be able to have these here, so we exchanged those out for some metal joist straps. We had never used these before, but they worked pretty well, and they're gonna allow that membrane to have a little valley in the center so that the water can drain. And once we get the full deck structure cleared off, as well as the area underneath, we need to cut a wood template of sorts that we're gonna use to help us install our membrane. So we're using a scrap decking board that we pulled off the old deck to make our template here. I'm measuring and drawing a little cutout area here in the center where our joist straps are gonna go. We want this board to be able to sit on an angle, and it was gonna hit the joist straps without cutting these out. So I drew the lines, my dad cut these out, and then we can set this in place. Now, the reason that we're using this board is that in order for our system to drain properly, we do want to have a slight angle on the way our membrane is installed so that the water can flow in the direction that we want it to flow. I think the rule here is that you want to have a 1-inch drop over every 4-foot expanse. So we have about 10 feet here, so we're dropping a little more than 2 inches, starting at the house side and moving away toward that center line. Another rule of thumb here is that we don't want to flow the water in toward the house. It's always better to have it flow away. Again, this is just gonna be a temporary measure to set our membrane on so that we know exactly how sloped it needs to be, and we're not having to guess as we go along. Okay, so we're finally ready to get the membrane in place here. Let me show you how we're doing this. So first of all, I measure and cut this to length. We want this to be long enough to go from the house all the way to our center mark here, plus a little bit of extra since we need this to dip down and create a nice little pocket for our water to go in. So I lay everything out and cut this with my kitchen scissors. This membrane material I found on Amazon. I am gonna link a lot of the materials that I'm using in this video down in the description box below. Those are affiliate links, so I can make money on those. I'm not a big affiliate link kind of creator because most of my stuff is thrifting and repurposing, but when I can, I drop those down there. So if you're working on a project like this and want to support my channel, click the link down there. So on the first one here, of course, it was the most difficult because there was a slightly wider gap here. All the other ones were equidistant, but this one was a little bit wider. So we needed to add in a board below to make our membrane reach because this is made for standard like 16 on center spacing for joists. So once we got that first one in place, we were able to kind of test out the process here and fine tune a little bit so we're good to go on the second one. So let me show you that one. Again, we start with that decking board in place, screwed in on an angle so that we have a nice idea of our slope for drainage. Then we can put our membrane in place and make sure it's centered between the joists. Then my dad places a couple of staples all the way down at the end just to get this tacked in place. And then I'm on the other end pulling to make this tight. We want this to be as taut and as smooth as possible. So I'm pulling it tight, but we did put another piece of wood on top of it to hold it down against that decking board. So again, we're getting that slope. And once we get this pulled tight and stapled all the way toward the end, we make sure to stop a little bit before the end so that we can pull our decking board out. This step isn't necessary if you don't have the joist straps, but again, this board wouldn't be able to drop with those joist straps there, so we need to get the board out now. And once our board is removed, we can staple all the way up to the edge, and then we can really press down and kind of create a fold here. The place where there's that valley in the middle is going to kind of pleat in toward the center, and we're making sure to press down in the center so we get that real low point. That's where our gutter pieces are going to attach, so we want all the water to funnel right there. As we go along here, my dad and I have found kind of a nice flow. He's getting things started. Once we get the decking board out, I'm finishing up the staples on the end. It's funny, I just finished up reupholstering my chairs and I'm feeling so good with the staple gun, and this just feels like a massive upholstery project, especially at the end with the kind of pleating and the folding and making sure everything's really smooth and taut. I'm like, I know how to do this. We've done this before. All right, new day here, and we are installing our downspouts underneath. We did a couple of these off camera just to figure out what we're doing here, but let me show you what we're doing. So first I make a couple of measurements from the end here to get the right placement for our gutters. So I think these are at 2 inches, 3.5 inches, and 5 inches. That 3.5 inch mark is gonna be our center point, and I draw kind of an X here between that 2 inch mark and 5 inch mark, almost reaching the crease in the membrane, if that makes sense. Now, I wanna cut a little bit less here. As we got started, I cut too much and my X was too big, so we want to cut a little bit less than we need. And then my dad gets one of these gutter pieces and presses it down through the top. The idea here is that if we cut too much, we're going to have some gaps, but we want to have just enough that the plastic can kind of stretch around this piece and hold it really tightly with no gaps and no leaks. Once we get that piece pressed in from the top, I'm gonna take another piece like that, these fit together, and I'm gonna place that up below, and we wanna catch the little tabs in the membrane to hold this tight. And at that point, I can go in with some little tape strips and tape those tabs down to get this held in place. This tape is a flex tape, which is almost like putty, and it's gonna be really good for waterproofing here. Once I get 2 of those tabs tacked down so that this holds in place, my dad pulls out the top piece. That was just to help the membrane stretch and get things in place. And now he can go in with a strip of tape all the way around and get this really sealed in so it's solidly attached and will prevent any leakage. Anywhere that I cut a little bit too much or we did a mistake, we're just going in with additional pieces of tape to plug those holes and keep this as waterproof as possible. And now that we're taping, we're gonna wanna go ahead and tape all of our seams as well. We probably should have done this before. It would have been so much easier to get to, but I don't know, one thing at a time. This tape is a joist tape made specifically for this application, so same waterproofing concept, but not quite as gummy and sticky as the flex tape. And we're gonna place this down over all of the edges, all of the seams, any of the staples that we put in. This is gonna seal in those edges and make them waterproof. Again, we should have done this before, so I didn't have to kind of parkour around to all of the different areas to get these taped. And with one side of the deck waterproofed and ready to go, now we can do the other side. Now, one thing that I wanted to show you here is that we didn't add the posts for our railings yet, and in order to do so, I'm gonna have to pull up some of the staples that I put down and cut some slits in our membrane so that we can slide those posts up through from the bottom. Then I can go in and pull it tight and staple directly into the post, cut off the excess, and then go in with my flex tape on top of that again to waterproof this edge as much as possible. Alright, time to install our gutters. So we have all these channels in our membrane. They're going to funnel the water into the center. It's going to go down through those little downspouts that we attached, and now we need a gutter below it to catch all that water and take it out the side. So we're using a standard like plastic gutter system here. It's important that our gutters sit directly below the downspout, so we're putting a decking board behind as kind of a spacer to pull these gutters out a bit away from the post so that they're directly under those downspouts. There's going to be one long gutter piece on either side to catch all of that water from our downspouts, and then at the end here we got a variety of different pieces to see what was going to work best. So I'm putting these pieces together so that we have the water go around the corner, funnel into one downspout, and then we can put together some weird angled pieces to have this go through the gap behind the post and down the side of the house. Kind of the same as we did the membrane, it's important to remember here as we're installing these where we want the water to flow. So both of these are going to be higher at the end toward the door and lower at the other end toward where the downspout is going to be. And the one that has the actual downspout piece is going to be our lowest point. The other one sits up a little bit higher. Basically, we want everything to roll down right into that lowest point so that it can drain properly. Okay, this is the moment of truth. We're gonna run the hose up top and see if the water drains into the end as it should. Let's find out. So our test was somewhat successful. The water was draining properly into the downspouts. However, the water had kind of a large drop before it landed in the gutter, so it was kind of splashing along the sides and over the edge a lot. So we're gonna need to lengthen these downspouts so that they sit closer to the gutter so we don't get that splashback effect. But for now, let's assemble all of the pieces of the final downspout so that we can get a sense of how this is gonna flow down out into the yard. This is looking great, so let's go ahead and extend those downspouts into the gutter so that we won't have that splashing effect. So we were hoping that we could just do shorter downspouts all the way across, but some places that didn't make any difference, and some places that actually made it worse because it kind of augmented the bad angle that they were at. So I think we need to have longer pieces that actually touch down into the longer gutter on all of them, but we don't have what we need to do that today, so we're gonna come back and do that later. We had to go buy another piece here and cut these a bit longer, between I think 5 and 7 inches all the way across, so that it would sit all the way down into the gutter and allow things to flow properly without splashing over the edge. right, new day, and it's a very big day because we're gonna start adding our decking boards on the top. First, we need to add the remaining posts here so that we can cut the decking boards around to make those fit, so let's go ahead and get those in place. With the decking boards, we are starting at this far corner. This deck is not very square to the house. We built everything so that it would line up with the existing concrete block wall, which looks great. But if we started with the decking boards toward the house and worked outward, they would look really wonky by the time we reach the end. So we're starting at the far side and working back toward the house. Note here as well, we did this at the peak of the blooming springtime when all of this crap was falling from the sky. So it was a constant battle to keep our membrane clean here. We don't want to start with all of that crap built up in here. So as we go here, I'm trying to blow away the crap to get the membrane as clean as possible before we put the decking boards on. Now, fun little deck building hack here. My mom found this really cool gadget that you like clamp around the side of the piece that allows you to put the screws in diagonally on the side of the decking board. This looks really nice visually because you're not seeing the screws go right down into the top, but also this is going to be better from a maintenance perspective. Anytime you have those big screw holes in the top, it's going to be an entry point for water, and water can pool and sit in there. And water is like the enemy when it comes to outdoor wood preservation. So having these screws go in diagonally on the sides is not only going to look better, but it's going to help this deck last longer, hopefully. So I clamp this gadget around the decking board aligned with the joist, and then we can either pull or clamp this really tight. Then I go in with the special bit for this that's very long and is able to get the screw all the way down in on a diagonal. And once we're done here, the screws are basically invisible. Pretty cool, right?
Okay, instructional portion is done.
As an extra waterproofing measure here, I'm going in with a clear silicone caulk around all of our tape around the top of our downspouts. I don't know if this was entirely necessary. I think our tape was holding pretty well, but now's the time to do it if we're gonna do it. So I'm gonna go in with that, and hopefully that will help keep these totally waterproof. Now, one other thing that I wanted to note here, the decking boards are quite close together as we're laying them down. We're just using our little gadget as a spacing mechanism here, and the boards look quite close together. However, these are outdoor treated boards that will shrink down. At the time that I'm filming this a couple weeks later, the sun has already dried down those boards a lot, and they've shrunken quite a bit, so the gaps are already much larger than they were when we started. So I'm glad we didn't space these out too much to start, or we would have ended up with really big gaps. Another thing to note here is that we added flashing along the sides of the house that went on top of our membrane system, on top of our joists. That's going to be yet another measure to help the water flow correctly and not end up seeping down the side of the house.
Okay, so we just finished up getting down most of the decking boards, and I'm so exhausted. Oh my God, the last couple of days between being in the sun and working really long hours and being like physically active, but in like weird crouchy kind of ways. I'm not used to that, but quickly getting used to that. But yeah, it's been a really intense like week or so of work. But we have a deck, more or less. It's very exciting. Yay.
All right, before we wrap it up here, we have a couple more steps to get us to our final stopping point for this video. So the vinyl on the side of my house is not my favorite thing. The original siding is lingering underneath in many areas of the house, but on this back part, a lot of this was an addition that was not original to the house. So long story short, we need to keep the vinyl. However, we need to remove it entirely and rebuild it from the ground up because it's not gonna align properly with our new deck height. So we're gonna start in pulling all of this vinyl off, and then next time we'll be able to put everything back and get this looking a lot more put together. Basically, this vinyl is just held on with a couple of nails to the top of each area. So once I was able to get a couple areas of the siding unhooked from each other, I was able to pull out the nails and get most of this off pretty easily. And while we have this off, I think we should add some house wrap that we had on hand. Most of it has this tar paper stuff over it, which is not really the correct thing to use now, but it's serviceable enough. But there was a whole big area of this wall that just had nothing. So much better to get that covered with the correct house wrap and seal this in a little bit better. And one final super satisfying step here that's gonna really turn this into a deck. When we put on the decking boards, we just let the excess hang over the edge, but now we can snap a line along the edge and my dad can go in and cut all of the boards so we get a nice clean edge on this deck. Isn't that the most satisfying thing you've ever seen? I love it. All right, so reveal time. Is this a final product? No. Is this a million times better than it was where we started at the beginning of this video? Absolutely, so I'll take it. In my deck planning video, you know that I was going back and forth on making this deck different heights, and it was a big decision to land on having everything at one height, and I'm so glad that I did. This space feels expansive, but not too much. Keeping the original footprint of the concrete wall, I think, was a great choice. Using the invisible screw system makes the top of the deck look so clean and streamlined, and the foundation is laid for this to become a beautiful outdoor living space. Okay, so let me take you on a quick tour of our now waterproof under deck area. So we're gonna be putting lattice all around the edges so that we get a little bit less visibility from the outside. We're also gonna have a door that comes right here, so you enter in here. I think over in this area, we're gonna do a lot of our wood storage and do some shelving attached to these posts so that we can put like long boards in this way and maybe shorter boards over here against the wall. And then over here, I'm thinking of getting some shorter shelves that can go kind of under the height, like where the concrete block is, and allowing those to be storage for some like extra pots and potting materials and things like that that can survive the weather, and things that don't necessarily need bug proofing but would still benefit from the waterproofing. The gutter system here has been working really well since we added those little downspouts, so everything just flows out the side as it should. Super exciting. So in a future video, we are gonna go into the existing shed and pull out a lot of the wood that's in there. Again, that's why we wanted to do this project first, so that when we tackle that, we have a place to put all of that scrap wood. So once we build our storage in here, we'll be able to move that out permanently and use that space maybe for more like lawn care materials and potting materials and things like that. Now, we still have a long way to go here with building the pergola, adding railings, figuring out the stairs situation. But I think this is a great first step, and I hope you're loving how this looks so far. As always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button, hype this video, drop a comment down below, offer some ideas. I love to hear from you guys in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon.